Welcome to Sotantra education. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about the concept of nested class. So previously, we have discussed about nested if, nested loop like this. So what is nested if? So if we write one if block, suppose if this is the condition, then this is the body. So if we write another if here, but this is condition 1 and make this condition 2, then here the body of the inner if. So this type of structure. So here you can observe this if is inside this if, or you can say this is the outer if and this is the inner if. So if we write one if block inside another if block, so that is called as nested if, or this structure is called as nested if. Similarly, you can consider if else. So if we write one if else inside another if else, that is called as nested if else. Similarly, we have loop. Suppose we have one for loop, then we are writing the initialization, then updation like that. Now assume this is the body of the loop. Now inside this body of the loop, if we write another loop, and this is the body of the inner for loop. So this type of structure is called as nested loop. Nested loop means one loop is inside another loop, or we are writing one loop is inside the body of another loop. So this type of structure is called as nested loop, or in particular this is nested for loop. Similarly, if we write one class inside another class, that is called as nested class. So previously all the classes that we have discussed, we are writing that independently. So like class A, suppose we are writing class A, then writing the body of class A, then we are writing class B, then we are writing body of class B, like this. Now we are going to write class, suppose name of the class is outer. Now inside this class outer, we are going to write another class and assume the class name is inner. So here you can observe this inner class is presented inside outer class. So this type of structure is called as nested class. So varieties of nested classes are there. So let us consider their types. Nested class. So basically the nested class is of two types. One is named nested class. That means the nested class have a name, or the inner class have a name. And here we can consider another one is anonymous nested class. That means the inner class don't have a name. Now this named class is of again two types. One is static, another one is non-static or not static. So now we are going to discuss each type of nested class and see their implementation. So we are not going to discuss more details about this nested class. So we are going to just see the overview of this. Okay, now we will see the implementation of nested class. So consider we have a class and the name of the class is outer, and here in the outer class, suppose we have a method and the method is public void display. And assume inside this method we are just printing a statement system dot out dot println, then we can write inside outer class. A simple statement we are writing. Okay. So now consider we have one class test. So we can write class test, then here we can write the main method public static void main, then string args, then suppose we want to call this display method that is defined here in the outer class. So for that we need to create one object of this outer class, and using that object we can invoke this method, because this display is not a static method. Now if consider if it is a static method, so if it is a static method, then simply we can invoke this method without creating an object. So in this scenario, how to do this one? So we can simply write outer dot display, because this display method is static one. Now let us check how it works. Okay, successfully compiled, no error. Inside outer class it is displaying. Now consider it is not static. Then if we write like this outer dot display, then it is going to throw an error, because the non-static members of a class cannot be accessed without creating one object, or directly from the class name we cannot access the non-static members of the class. So it is showing the error that non-static method display cannot be referenced from a static context. So from this example we know that we can access the static members of a class without creating objects of that class, and with the name of the class we can directly access the static members, because the static variables or the methods are members of the class, not members of the object, or not associated with the objects. So similarly here, if we have a class that is static, so for that we can write static class and assume the name of the class is inner. So here assume this one, this display method we are writing here only. So we have one class outer, and in this outer class we are writing another class inner, and this inner class is a static one. That means without creating one object of outer class we can directly access this inner class and display method also. So now how to access or how to create one objects of the inner class? So if we want to create one object of inner class, so we can directly write this, or if we want to access the inner class we can simply write outer dot inner. That means inner class is inside the outer class, and assume the object name is obj. So we are creating, or we are trying to create one object of this inner class. So for that we can write outer dot inner obj. So here obj is a reference variable that is going to refer one object of the inner class that is inside outer class. So how to create the object? So simply we can write new outer dot inner, this one. Now using the object obj of the inner class, we can simply access the display method. So we can write obj dot display. Now let us check whether it is working or not. Okay, no issue, successfully compiled. So here you can see the output inside outer class. That means we can access the members of the static inner class like in this way, like creating one object, and using that object we can access the members of the inner class. Now consider this inner class is not static. So just remove this one. Now how to access this display method? So if we write like this, then it is going to throw an error. Let us check. So here it is showing error, enclosing instance that contains outer dot inner is required. Enclosing instance means one object is required that contains this outer dot inner. So you need to create one object of the outer class first, then using that object we can create the objects of the inner class, because here the inner class is not static. So how to do this? So first we have to create one object of the outer class. So how to create one object of the outer class? So write like this: outer, suppose obj equal to, okay, so let it be outer obj. So outer obj equal to new outer. So here the object name is outer obj and we are writing new outer. So outer obj is an object of the outer class. Now using this outer obj we are going to access this display method that is inside the inner class. So now in the second statement we can write here outer dot inner obj, that means obj is an object of this inner class. And how to create this one? So with the help of the outer obj we need to create this one. So outer obj dot new inner, and here obj, using this obj, that means now obj is an object of this inner class. So using this obj we can access this display method. So let us check whether it is working or not. Okay, successfully compiled. So it is showing inside outer class. So here you can observe, to access the members of a non-static inner class we need to create first the object of the outer class. Then here in this example outer obj is the object of the outer class. Then using this outer obj we can create the objects of the inner class.
Please note that the non-static nested classes are also called as inner class.
And here obj is an object of the inner class, and using that we are accessing the method display. So I hope this is clear.
So now we will discuss about
anonymous classes. So suppose consider in some situations when we need only a single object of a subclass, then at that time it is not wise to declare a class and create the object. So we have another alternative option for that, and generally we go with that alternate option, and that is called as anonymous inner class. So now let us check. So suppose we have a class outer, and in the outer class we have one method display, and this display method prints inside outer class. Now in the test class, suppose we want to create one object of the outer class. So for that we can write outer obj equal to new outer. So in this way we write. Now if we want to invoke the display method, just we can write obj dot display. So if we write like this, then inside outer class will be printed if we execute this program. So let us check whether we are getting the correct result or not. Java C test dot java, then successfully compiled. So Java test, so it is printing inside outer class. So successfully compiled. Now here we can observe this statement creates one object obj of type outer, or we can say of outer class. Now here if we write like this, so if we write something inside this curly braces, then this person is a subclass of the outer class. This person, that is means this one opening curly braces and closing curly braces. So this person is called as the subclass, or is known as the subclass of the outer class. So here assume in this subclass we want to override the display method. So here we can simply copy this one and provide another definition of the display method. So inside, suppose inside test class we can write, okay. And so in the outer class display method we are printing a statement that is inside outer class, and here in the display method we are printing inside test class. That means this display method overrides the display method of the outer class, and this part is a subclass of the outer class. Now what is its name? If it is a subclass of the outer class, what is its name? So you can observe this subclass has no name, or we can say it is an anonymous class. Now we can invoke this display method using this object obj and just write obj.display. So now let us check, is it working properly or not. Okay, successfully compiled. So it is showing inside test class. This means this display method is going to be executed. Okay, so now let us change this method to display1 and here invoke display1. So let us check what is going to happen. So just save this one and write here java c test.java. So it is showing error, cannot find symbol obj.display1, variable obj of type outer. So here you can observe variable obj is of type outer, and using this object we are calling display1 method, but here in the subclass we are writing display1 method, and in the super class no information about display1 method, that's why it is showing an error. We have already discussed this type of concept earlier. We can also apply this concept of anonymous class to the abstract classes and also to the interfaces. So let us consider we are writing or we are implementing one interface. Okay, assume the interface name is outer, and in the interface just we are going to provide the abstract method, so it is void display. So now here we are going to implement the interface outer. So that's why we are writing outer obj equal to new outer, and this part, this section inside this curly braces, this one is the class that implements the interface outer. So now it is okay. So here just write public, because we have discussed that by default this one, the methods in the interface are public, and that's why you need to write your public in the method definition part. So now let us check whether it is working or not. Successfully compiled, then write java test. So it is showing inside test class. So here you can observe that through this anonymous class we are implementing the interface outer. So I hope this concept of anonymous inner class is clear to everyone.